Okay, welcome to 6.3 Credit Cards and Store Promotions. All right, so before we were talking about really investing money. So, like I said a few times, that putting in $10,000 into a bank account and how much do you make over time. So, usually, if you're doing that, you'd only get something like, maybe as low as 1.5% on an investment. But when it comes to credit cards, it's kind of the reverse. What this is that you're borrowing money, and the credit card companies are going to want a large percentage of that, like sometimes as high as like 20% or more, depending on what the credit card is. So that's why you always want a low percentage on a credit card. You never want those high percentage credit cards. All right, so you guys can look through number one as an example, but I'm going to skip on over to build your skills. So number one says calculate the interest due on the following credit card balances. So we've got an unpaid balance. Balance means how much is on it, of $2,076.54 at a rate of 19.50% for 15 days. That's how many days we're paying on that. So really what we're doing for these is just using our simple interest formula. So that's just going to be I is equal to PRT. So we want to know what the interest due is going to be. So that's our I. That's going to be equal to, well, our principal. So 2,076.54. Our interest rate is going to be the same thing, but remember we need to write that as a decimal. So divide by 100. So that's going to be 0.195. And then times, and then this is the only one that we need to figure out. So remember that our time is in years. So in order to figure out how many years 15 days is, it's going to be a decimal, right? All we have to do is take the number of days that you have and divide it by 360. So if we go 15 divided by 365, sorry, for days in a year. So we're going to go 15 divided by 365. So that's going to be 0.04. So that's what we're going to write in here, 0.04. Because that's how many years 15 days is, if that makes sense. Okay, and then all you do is, whoa, what happened there? Oh, I see. And then all you do is multiply those together. So in the end, I is going to be equal to 1664. All right, B. I'm going to let you do on your own because it's really the same. So see if you can copy the steps that I did above, and it should be the same thing. So go ahead and answer 1B now. Okay, C. The only difference that we're going to have here, so we're still going to go I is equal to PRT. Remember, T is in years, though. That's the kind of thing we have to remember here. So then I'll say I is equal to, our principal is going to be 2019.64. Our rate as a decimal is going to be 0.185. And now 18 months. Okay, so the only thing we have to do, so last time it was in days, so we divided by 365. How many months are in a year? Well, there's 12, right? So if I want to convert this into years, all I need to do is go 18 months divided by 12 months in a year. So 18 divided by 12 is going to be 1.5. So 18 months is the same thing as 1.5 years. Okay, and then finally just multiply them all together. And I get $560.27. Okay, number two. Marsh's credit card company charges 24%, that would be a high credit card, per annum, counting each day that an amount is owed. Her only purchase was an item of $568.93. She did not pay on the due date, March 10th. How much will she owe on the next statement date, April 2nd, if she doesn't make any other purchases? So just this much was on the credit card, right? And now really what we got to figure out is how many days she's gone over. So we need to know how many days are in March. Well, there are 31 days in March, right? So for the first, what I do is break it down. So I'd say, okay, so from March 10th to 31st, how many days would that be? So that's kind of a, I should say 2, it looks like a subtraction. 10th to the 31st. Well, it's going to be 21 days in that, right? Actually, sorry, I misspoke. It's going to be 22, and that's a little counterintuitive, but it's because we're also counting the 10th as a day too. So it's going to be 22 days there. Hopefully that made sense. It's because we're also counting the day of the 10th. Okay, and then to the 2nd, so April 2nd. So in April, it goes from the 1st to the 2nd, we'll say. And that's going to be 2 days. So in total, there's going to be 24 days. That she's gone over, right? So 24 days. So now what we got to do is just use our formula that we've been using. So I is equal to PRT. So I is equal to, well, there's only that 568.93 on there so far. So 568.93. Interest rate is 0.24. And then the amount of time that has gone by is that 24 days that we figured out. So 24, so times 24. Okay, so if you multiply those all together, that would be $8.98. Right, so that, but what it says, how much will she owe? So she'll owe that $8.98 we figured out, plus what she already had on there. So we got to go that plus 5. Actually, let's just do that in a different spot here. So we'll say the total A is going to be equal to P plus I. So A is going to be 568.93. That's our principal, right? Plus 8.98. So that's going to be 577.91. All right, so that's, yeah. Okay, 3. It says, Harley used her credit card to make the following purchases during the month. She does not have to pay interest on purchases during the month, only on outstanding balances. Her credit card company charges 18.50% per annum. Okay, so then A says, what is her balance due on the statement date November 28th? Well, this is all before November 28th, right? So none of that is actually after. Like, she's not late on any of it, right? So she doesn't have to pay any interest on it. So all we have to do for her to figure out her balance is add up all these numbers. So add up every one of those and see what that equals. And if you do that, that's going to end up being $1,207.05. And that's it. We don't have to figure out anything other than that because she does not have to pay interest on purchases during the month, only outstanding. All right, B, if the minimum payment is 5% or $10, which is greater? What is Harley's minimum payment? Okay, so in these type of situations, the banks want their money. So they might say something like this, right? So it's going to be 5% or $10, whichever one's greater. They might put that in their clause. So all we have to do here is to figure out what is 5% of this. And if it's bigger than $10, the bank wants that. So we just need to figure out what 5% of $1,207.05 is. So remember, to figure out a percentage of a number, we need to change that 5% to a decimal. So that's going to be 0.05, right? Just 5 divided by 100, or move that decimal place twice, times 1,207.05, and that's going to be 60.35, which is greater than $10, so the bank wants that. That's kind of how they get you, right? So her minimum payment will be $60.35. Okay, if she pays only the minimum and doesn't use the card between then and the next statement, how much will she owe on her December 28th statement? Okay, first thing we're going to do is figure out how much she owes after she pays the minimum payment. So we're going to go how much she had, 1,207.05. That's what's on her balance, right? Minus the minimum payment there, 60.35. Okay, so that's going to be equal to 1146.70. Okay, so I'm going to put a box around that maybe to show that we need that for later. Now the next thing we got to do is figure out how many days actually go by. So we're starting out at November 28th, right? And we are going until December 28th. So what we do is just figure out November first. So say in November, we're going from the 28th, and there are 30 days in November. So 28th to 30th, or 30th, is equal to 3 days. And then in December, we're going to have the 1st to the 28th. That's going to be 28 days. So remember why this top one was 3. That's because we were also including 28. So in total there, we're going to have 31 days. All right. Now that we know that, we are going to start out with our formula. I is equal to PRT. I is going to be equal to, that's going to be our 1146.70, because that's how much we have on the credit card after we took off that 60, right? Times our interest rate of 0.185. Remember where that comes from? That comes from all the way back up here, right? That's how much the credit card charges. And then the time, well, that's what we just figured out. So 31 days, but this needs to be in years, right? So 31 days divided by 365 would give us how many years that's going to be. So 31 divided by 365 is going to be 0.85. If you multiply that, to me, I is equal to $18.02. And then lastly, the last step we need to do is just figure out how much in total that's going to be. So A is equal to P plus interest, right? So A is equal to, that's going to be our 1146.70 plus, and now what we just figured out in interest there, so 1802. So A is going to be equal to 1,164.72. All right, hopefully that went okay. Okay, let's jump to number 4 on page 309. So it says, Xavier's credit card charges 24.90% interest per annum. He used his credit card, which had no previous balance, to take out a cash advance of $550 on December 10th. Interest is calculated starting on the day of withdrawal. So what that means is when you take a cash advance, they start taking interest right away until you pay that back, right? So we just need to figure out from the day that he took the advance to the 10th. Oh, sorry. The 10th is the day that he took it. And then part A says Xavier's next statement is dated December 21st. For how many days is interest calculated for the balance on his statement? So it's just going to be December 10th to the 21st. And remember, the 10th counts as well. So if you went 21 minus 10, that'd be 11. But since we're counting 10 as well, that's going to be 22. That's it. So now how much will he owe on his December 21st statement? So that's going to be I is equal to PRT. So I is equal to, he took out 550. Multiplied by our interest rate as a decimal, so 0.249. And then times our time in years. It has to be in years, right? So now we figured this out in days, so we just need to go 22 divided by 365. So that's going to be 0.06. 0.06 years. So our interest is going to be $4.50. Right, and then we need our total. So A is equal to P plus I. So A is going to be equal to 550 plus 4.50, which is just A is equal to 554.50. All right, so C says, what is the actual cost of the cash withdrawal if he pays his bill in full on January 10th? So what we just need to figure out how much interest is actually going to it's going to grow over that time. So we got to figure out the days first. So remember, it started on December 10th, right? Was when he took the money out. So we're going to go December 10th to January 10th. So we'll go December 10th to the end of December. So the 31st. And that's going to be equal to not 21 days, but 22 days, because we're also counting the 10th. And then January 1st to the 10th is going to be 10 days. Okay, so that's going to be 32 days total. Now we just need to do our formula again. I is equal to PRT. And I'm actually going to let you guys figure out the rest of this. We've done this enough times. Don't forget, though, that in the end, we are looking for A, not I. So figure out your interest, and then add that interest to your principal, and then that's what A is going to be. So go ahead and answer 10C now. Okay, for the sake of time, let's take off number 5. And then we will move on to 6. Okay, Saul is buying a new TV. The cash price is $1,675.89. Or he can take the store promotion, 24 easy monthly payments of $75. If Saul chooses the store promotion, what annual rate of interest will he pay for the TV? All right, so first off, we got to figure out how much money would he actually pay if he paid $24 or 24 easy payments of $75. So we'll go 24 times 75. Okay, so he would end up paying $1,800 compared to that, right? So paying more for it with this 24 easy monthly payments thing. Okay, so we got to figure out how much he'd pay in interest on that. So what we need to do is compare this. Well, actually, we'll figure out what the difference is there to figure out how much he actually paid in interest. So the next thing we're going to do is go 1,800 minus what the TV was actually worth. Okay, so that's how much money in interest he's going to have to pay. So now that I know that, we can just relate that to our formula. So our formula is I is equal to PRT. And we are looking for R. What's the annual interest rate? So we can just start to fill in things as we know it. So we know that the interest here is going to be $124.11. We know that the TV is actually worth this much, so that's going to be what our principal would be there. We don't know R, so I'll leave it as R. And the time, well, how many years is 24 months? That's 2 years, right? You could also get that by going 24 months divided by 12 months would give you 2, so kind of similar to what we've been doing. So now if I want R on its own, well, here, I'm just going to do one more little step to make things maybe a little simpler. So I'm going to just write down 124.11 again. And now this 1,675, I'm going to multiply that by 2 because they're both up top. I'm allowed to multiply those. So we're going to multiply those, and that ends up being 3,351.78 times R. So now if we want R on its own, all we have to do is divide both sides by this. So divide by that, and then divide by that on this side. And we end up with an answer for R of 0.0370. So in the end, so writing that as a decimal or as a percentage, that would end up being 3.7%. Okay, number 7. The store offers a bike for $689.98. You want to purchase it but cannot pay cash. Your payment options are. So in these type of questions, all we got to figure out is you just have to actually do all these different operations here to figure out which is actually going to be the least or the most cost effective in the end. So option 1 is going to be 10% down payment and then 6 monthly payments of $115. So first off, let's figure out what 10% down payment would be on $689. So option 1, we're going to start out by figuring out what 10% is. So I'll write that as 0.10 times what I want to figure out 10% of, which is 689.98, which is $69. Okay, so that's what the down payment would be, so $69. And then we just need to add 6 monthly payments of 115. So I need to multiply 6 times 115. So if I go 6 times 115, that's going to be equal to $690. So the total there, if I just add those two numbers up that I figured out, so the down payment there and then the what was going on there, if I add those together, that ends up being $759. All right, so that's option 1. Option 2. Is just going to be 24 monthly payments of $35. So that's easy. That's just going to be 24 times 35. So $840. And then lastly, option 3. So pay using a cash advance on your credit card. You would be charged interest at an annual rate of 20.95%, and you expect that it will take you 20 days to pay the credit card balance. So option 3. So we're going to start off with our formula for this one. I is equal to PRT. So the principal is going to be what the bike costs. So $689.98. Our interest rate, it tells us in the question there, is going to be 20.95, so 0.2095, right, written as a decimal. And then our time, it says 20 days. Well, this needs to be in years though, right? So we're going to go 20 divided by 365. So it's going to be 0.055. And then multiply all that together. That's going to be $7.92. And then figure out our total there. A is going to be equal to principal plus interest. So A is going to be, well, the principal was our bike price, $689.98 plus $792. That was our interest. So that's going to be $697.90, which seems like the best deal. So I'd say option 3 was our best option. And number 8, I'm actually going to let you guys cross out. All right. Practice your skills, number 1. So calculate the interest due on the following credit card balances. So just I, right? You don't need to find the total. So remember, I is equal to PRT. And that's it. So just make sure that you know you put this in right. So there's your principal. There's your interest rate, but as a decimal, right? It needs to be a decimal. And then remember, our time needs to be in years. So what do you do with that 45 days? All right, so go ahead. Just wait. I'll get you to do 1A and B at the same time. So B just says, so you got your principal, you got your rate, but then 6 months. So what do you do with that 6 months to turn that into years? All right, so go ahead and answer 1A and B now. Number 2. Okay, so Simona's credit card company charges interest at a rate of 19.50% per annum. On her statement dated June 18th, she owed $1,630.45. She paid only the minimum, which was either 5% or $10, whichever is greater. How much will she owe on her next statement, July 18th, if she does not use her credit card again before the statement date? Okay, so if you need a little hand with this one, what I would recommend is go back to page 307. It's very much like part C. It's actually pretty much like this question, right? So we had to figure out which was bigger, right? 5% or $10. It's almost the same question. So if you need a hand with that, go back to that page. But other than that, I'm going to leave you guys on your own. So go ahead and answer number 2 now. All right, we are actually going to skip number 3. So move on to number 4. So George wants to buy a new living room set. His payment options are pay cash, store payment plan of 6 monthly payments of $435. Option 3, pay using cash advance on his credit card. He would be charged interest at an annual rate of 22.75, and he expects that it would take him 30 days to pay his credit card. If he chooses option 2, how much will he pay in interest? So part A is really saying, what's the difference between option 2 and option 1? Because whatever extra he pays for option 2, that's how much he would pay in interest. So I'll let you guys go ahead and answer 4A now. If he chooses option 3, how much will he pay for the living room set? So remember, option 3 is just dealing with this one. I is equal to PRT. So we've done one like this. On page 312, number 7 was very much like this one, right? And option 3 was the one we were looking at. So if you need a hand, go back to number 7. But other than that, I'll let you do 4B on your own. So go ahead and answer 4B now. And I'll let you not do number 5 as well. So we'll take number 5 off. Okay, so that's it. I'll see you guys in 6.4.